Increíble. And now we're about to get into the thick of it.
Immediately?
Money Game Part 3. And as you see, this was uploaded 1 year ago, so this was the most recent. Let's see actually when these were released. So 5 years ago, Money Game Part 2 came out. Oh, this is. And 5 years ago, Money Game Part 1 came out. So Money Game 1 and 2 relatively came out close to each other. And Money Game 3 is a year old. So this is the newest one. And we're going to see what you think of it. All right, you guys, make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. I got Mr. Biscuit, the battle rapper, the producer, father, all those good things here. Doing a first-time reaction to Money Game 1, 2, and 3, and we have just arrived at Money Game 3. I would love for you guys to go to REN's channel and check this out on your own. Stream his music. What we do is not a substitute for the original content, so I always want to put them to the forefront. And, yo, let's get it, man. You ready?
Yeah, but before we go in, I appreciate REN for not releasing these back to back to back. You know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, take a couple years to contemplate that one.
Yeah.
And then take a couple years to contemplate this one. It's because my introduction to all this is like back to back to back. And I'm like, yo, this is like an overload.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's like someone just getting the Bible. They're like, yo, son, read this.
It's like you're Morpheus, like, would you like to learn Kung Fu? You just download it.
All right, you guys.
Yeah, this is nuts.
Let's do it. This is a REN Money Game Part 3. We got Mr. Biscuit on the ropes right now.
Let's do it. Nah, pause it. He was playing the piano, bro?
Yeah. Oh, you don't know. He can play the piano too?
All right, let's I shouldn't even be surprised at this point, to be honest with you. This shouldn't even arise as a shock. All right, let's go. Pause it real quick. You ever heard Danny Elfman sing? I believe Danny Elfman did the voice of Jack the Pumpkin King in A Nightmare Before Christmas. Jack Skellington.
Okay.
He has this same kind of really melancholy vibrato. But it's immediately very haunting. And it's like you don't know where you're going.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Let's get it.
Let me tell you a story about a boy named Jimmy. 1 year old and his first words were mine, mine, gimme. 2 years old he was walking, 3 years old walking quickly. 4 years old he was running round the pavements of his city. 5 years old and his daddy told him, listen here son, you gotta learn to be a man. A man, he works for what he wants. 6 years old and he's reading, writing, top of the bunch. And when he's 7, his progression made him student number 1. 8 years old and he's praised for unusual grades. 9, his parents paid for private school to nurture the flame. 10, 11, 12, 13, he ascends and ascends. His daddy tells him, son, money is the means to all ends. 14, solving complex mathematical equations. At 15, IQ 150, still elevating. 16, he develops complex software code that detects weaknesses in cybersecurity protocols. 17, and he sells his vision, keeping the share. Not yet an adult, but he's practically a millionaire. 18, and his daddy tells him, now you're a man. This world don't give a damn about you, so take all that you can. 19, he turns a profit, stocks and shares, invest in product. 20, double down deposits. 21, his income rockets. 22, he learns the truth is just an obstacle to wealth. If you manipulate the data, then the lie will sell itself. 23, a life of luxury, crystal and cocaine. 24, he makes the Forbes list, they're applauding his name. 25, and his daddy tells him, listen here son, while you're sitting in that palace, that don't mean that you won. 26, a business shift, he switches business to arms. He's 27, dealing nuclear and shells in Iran. 28, inside the Senate, money bought him a seat. He's 29, a role of counsel in the president's suite. Now he's 30, his daddy says you're losing the race. You're just a servant to the king, not even in second place. 31, a big maneuver for his daddy's approval, moving imports over borders from the exports out of Cuba. 32, moving grams, growing kilos to tons. He's 33, filling warehouses with powder and guns. 34, turf war with nobody to stop it. Blind eye from the po-po inside of his pocket. "35, he gets the call. I'm sorry, son, but it's your father. Had a heart attack. I'm sorry, he's gone. 36, getting pissed off, abusing his product. 37, eyes glazed, disposition demonic. 38, with a prostitute, a moment of passion, heating up a silver spoon and then chasing the dragon. 39, getting reckless and hungry for power. Daddy's words are still driving him to kill and devour. Makes a move against the cartel, but the strategy's flawed. They retaliate and leave him in a hospital ward. A bullet buried in his vertebra and one in his leg. The doctor sighs and says, I don't think you'll be walking again. Fuck. Let me tell you a story about a boy named Jimmy. He was 40 and he cursed the words, mine, mine, gimme. 41, he wasn't walking. 42, not walking quickly. 43, never running round the pavements.
According to Plato, in Plato's Republic, 40 is the year at which you should begin learning philosophy. Before 40, he says you're like a puppy. You're using philosophy as a sword. You're trying to gain, and you're trying to. So it's so many building blocks, right? There's tons and tons of different thinkers who say like 40 is the year where you really begin to bloom.
That's
so
interesting.
it's really interesting that 40 is kind of the time where he has this rock bottom moment.
That's crazy. Well, just on some personal stuff, it's interesting because your testosterone in your body changes dramatically at 40. And it's interesting you said that because it allows new light because, you know, when something's weakened to stabilize, something else has to get stronger, you know, and they say a lot of men in general actually start getting their bearings around 40 and start becoming successful and stuff like that.
Right.
And there's something to that. It is interesting that you highlighted that, because now that I see that, it's almost like he went through all the stuff that a lot of people start going through in their 40s.
Yeah.
Like, you know, cracking this code and making all these million, you know, like, this is interesting when you put it like that.
And he cursed the words, mine, mine, gimme. 41 he wasn't walking, 42 not walking quickly, 43 never running round the pavements of his city, 44 inside a palace with a mountain of gold. But those riches turn to rubble when perspective evolves. Weighing heavy on his conscience is the value of gold. Lamborghini for a life, trading money for souls. Jimmy followed the code inside the land of the free. Put your hand inside the cookie jar, take more than you need. And his example is exaggerated versions of me. And it's a version of him, and it's a version of she, and it's a version of you. There's no escaping the blame. The way we live is parasitic. Fuck the money and fame. Call the music. This isn't entertainment. This is real life. The way we live is lunacy, community, it declines. Hyperpolarized, always fighting, then we divide. Truth is less important than the money that we designed. Money's an invention. Politics from our invention. They all come from people's ideas. Did I mention? Border's an invention. Law and order fuel the tension. It leads to people killing each other. My solution? Everything is subject to change. We could build utopias if individuals were taught to use their brains. But if we teach kids in schools to always be sheep and put themselves before the herd if there's more money for me, then there's no future I see where the humans survive. We're parasites inside a petri dish with cannibal minds. Mold will grow upon the surface, then consumes till it dies. And our fate could be the same without this story to the wise. "45, Jimmy comes home out of the rain, soaking wet upon a wheelchair, drinking again. He is everything he wants, he is fortune and fame. He's a fortunate fool with an unfortunate fate. With a 45 caliber aimed at his brain. 45 a fitting number cause his age is the same. Here's the words of his father, it's such a damn shame. Then he presses on the trigger of a money game.
I'm wondering, is this the last one? Or is there, I mean, the thing is that the truths that are kind of inside this can kind of be unpacked forever. It can, like, there could be a continuous unfolding of how the money game goes in individual lives.
Because it is a game.
Right.
It's the hamster wheel. And it's always, you know, it's like this eternal, because like when I'm listening to this, I have an internal conflict that I have to face in the mirror, legitimately listening to this. Because this concept, he said we could create utopias.
Right.
I've never seen a utopia. So I struggle. So this is this is the biggest struggle I have. I've never seen a utopia. So my mind is always like, it's not possible to exist. Okay. First, that's my first inclination. That's not even possible. We can only reach balance. But then my rapper, artist mind kicks in.
Right.
That believes in anything. That's my child mind that's still innocent and untampered with and believes in the wonders and the magic of things that don't exist. And that's what's brought me the most blessings in my life, believing that what people said was impossible, believing in it and then achieving it.
Right.
That's when I get the goosebumps like, I mean, shit, is a utopia possible? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because my basic premise is nature gives us all the answers. And I personally haven't seen a utopia in nature. In that sense, there's ecosystems. There's ecosystems. They thrive off each other. But then again, I have never been to the depths of the ocean, and neither has anyone else, except for what's in the depths of the ocean or in certain places. So I like this because it challenges my way of thinking, me personally.
Yeah.
Because his audience, I think they gravitate to a different way than like in the last reaction, I was like, I'm a capitalist, Now I do understand at the top there's greed and all this stuff that I'm not with. I don't want to destroy the environment, all this stuff, but I believe in competing markets and stuff like that. I believe it's one of the better systems we've created. And so, a lot of people from his audience will give me pushback, and some will just start roasting me, But again, this is just, my thoughts and stuff, but
I think utopia, the word utopia is synonymous with paradise, right? With the word paradise.
Yes, with perfection.
Yeah, and paradise literally means walled garden. So the walls represent boundaries that we can't cross. And the garden represents exploration and curiosity. So we're allowed to explore as long as we stay within
these boundaries,
right? If the boundaries are too close and there's not enough garden, we call that tyranny. And if there's too much garden and the walls are too low, we call that anarchy, chaos, right? And so the whole thing is like we're trying to find this balance between where the walls should be and how much should be explored and what the consequences should be for transgressing those boundaries. Is utopia possible? I think it may be if we are all more other focused
within boundaries, which is ironic because this is what I'm saying. This is where I conflict and start having a battle because everything he's saying is release the boundaries, right? He said borders are an idea, government, and
sure.
They're supposed, and I'm not a government. Like I'm not, governments are corrupt, you guys, even though I'm trying to get my bread, like, trust me. I align with y'all and him more so on governments. We might have different ideologies, but government is on some corruptive bullshit, but they are supposed to instill law and order. Why? For these boundaries for society to thrive. And that's why I always go back to balance with things. Like balance is very important because in nature, that's the most reoccurring thing of semblance is balance. When things get out of balance, then you have a drought or, animals start to become extinct because the predator, there's too many apex predator in this area. So balance is super key to keep ecosystems alive. So that's how I always look at it. But I'm also a dreamer. I'm an artist. If I wasn't an artist, I wouldn't be doing reactions. I wouldn't be able to see through this lens. And being an artist, I'm like, well, I want to believe there can be a utopia, and I do want to fight for that.
Right.
I would rather fight for that than just be greedy to get money.
Right. Money Game 3 to me was a showcase of tyranny. The boy was tyrannized by his father. His father, there was no garden. There was no room to explore. He said, you get money. That's what's important, right? Yes. So the walls are super close and super tall, very little garden, very little room for exploration. So this is not a paradise. This is a tyranny. And when his dad dies, the tyrant is now on his shoulder, telling him, not enough, keep going, right? And so eventually he has to free himself with the 45. But
this dude said, well, free himself.
Bro, Ren might be my favorite artist, bro. Because this dude is really talking, bro.
What's funny is you ain't really heard his rap. Like, he just dropped a rap album called Sick Boy. And you don't even know. Like, you haven't even, like, because you're, like, this is what I appreciate about you. You appreciate the intricacy of punchlines, metaphors, and the syllabic and patterns.
Right.
And he does all that. All of that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll try to while you're in town, we'll try to do a few more. I think the people would enjoy it. But, hey, man, it's always a blessing to have you in here.
Always.
Mr. Biscuit's first time reaction to Money Game 1, 2, and 3. And this is going to end the Money Game train. Pause. No Diddy times infinity. With part 3. Yeah. I mean, you say train, you got to say pause now. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Diddy F that up for
no
everybody.
Diggity.
Anyways, that was a deep convo. I appreciate you guys tapping in. Catch you on the next one.
Thank you for being some man. 40 years down the road, back again. FUQ boy.